But they did teach me, my mom and dad taught me to stand for what I knew was right. And then my opportunity to do that happened when I was a cop. And I started my police career in Provo, Utah. And I was working my way through college. And I became a meter maid. And let me tell you something. I wrote a lot of tickets. And I've had to repent for all of those. And I'll tell you honestly, I've investigated. And I used to be a detective. And I've investigated this thoroughly. And 95% of the tickets that our cops and law enforcement issue in this country are unconstitutional, immoral, and wrong.
Oh my.
And now I have another book, and I didn't bring it with me. And by the way, my booth is over here where you see the two people next to the flags waving at us, with not very many people there right now. But afterwards, I'll be over there, and I want you to get these. And I have another book, but it's on my website, and that's sheriffmack.com. It's called The Proper Role of Law Enforcement. And in there, it details some of these things we're talking about, and details my conversion story to the Constitution. And it also has a deal, what I have called ticket writing in this country. I have termed it as taxation through citation. And that's all it is right there. So, I started though as a full-time cop in 1979 for Provo PD, and I was actually trying to get in the FBI. So I hired on full-time with Provo while I was waiting to hear from the FBI. That never panned out for some reason or another. Didn't work out. And I stayed at Provo. And while I was there, I just finished an undercover assignment where I was totally undercover in working narcotics. And at the end of that assignment, I learned how stupid and what a farce the drug war is. And that we actually ask cops to risk their lives for marijuana. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
And that we don't get it, that laws of prohibition don't work. Unless you're trying to create cartels, black markets, and a police state. Then they work just fine. Yeah. So after my undercover assignment, I started questioning what we were doing in law enforcement. And I got assigned back to patrol for a little bit. And I'm writing tickets because that's what cops are supposed to do, I thought. And then the epiphany occurs to me. And I'm writing this lady a ticket who just went through a stop sign right in front of me. And what I decided is, while I'm writing this lady a ticket, is that the one who was really breaking the law was me. And I didn't want to be that guy anymore. And so I decided I was going to start over. Completely start over. I almost quit my job because I decided, when I looked in the mirror after I didn't hand this lady the ticket, that I was a liar and a hypocrite, and that I wasn't serving people, I wasn't helping people. I had become a by-the-numbers jerk. And all I wanted to do was write tickets. And I wanted to set records writing tickets. Not just write a few tickets. I wanted to write hundreds of tickets. And then it hit me. And this lady changed my life. And so the next day I went back to work, and I went to the city clerk's office and I said, "Did I take an oath of office?" I didn't even remember taking my oath. And she says, "Yeah, you took an oath, you signed it." And she burned me a copy and handed it to me. And I was very depressed, and that's when I almost quit my job. Because I took an oath in God's name to uphold and defend the United States Constitution and the Constitution of Utah, and I had never read either one in my life. How do you uphold and defend something you've never read, never studied, don't know anything about? And so I almost quit my job, but then I thought, well, if I quit my job, my wife's going to ask me a real important question. Why did you do that? And I said, well, I'm a liar and a hypocrite. And she goes, well, let me get this straight. You want to quit your job because you're a liar and a hypocrite? And I said, yeah, that's it. And she goes, you couldn't just quit being a liar and a hypocrite and keep your job? And I said, man, that's a good idea. You see how you ladies are? You win the argument so easily. Yeah, good job. Now, so I decided that I was going to completely start over and start studying the Constitution. So I got the World Book Encyclopedia and kept it in my patrol car, and anytime I wasn't on another call, I was reading the Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights. And you know which one? I mean, I stole a Constitution from one of the people. Well, actually, I traded him. I gave him my little booklet, The Victory for State Sovereignty, which details my case that I won at the United States Supreme Court against the Clinton administration on the issue of state sovereignty. Okay, you can get it over there at the table. Now, as I was looking through and reading the Bill of Rights, about the third time reading it through, I wanted to start memorizing the Bill of Rights. And you know what really hit me the hardest? Remember what I was, a by-the-numbers cop who just wanted to write all the tickets he can. Which amendment in the Bill of Rights just knocked me off my feet? The 8th. Let's review the 8th real quick, shall we? Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. And ticket writing is all 3. And so I said, I can't do this and still keep my oath. You see the quandary coming? You see the conflict we have between statutes and oaths? Well, that got bigger as I went along. And so I started studying that. And radar tickets alone in this country bring in about $7 billion a year. And in California, I just talked to a kid who got a ticket. And his ticket for rolling through a stop sign on a country road was $529. Is that rocket science that violates the 8th Amendment? It doesn't take a rocket science to know that, does it? Is it rocket science to know cops are violating their oaths every day when they do that? As a matter of routine, we do that. And then a guy, when I was speaking in Turlock, California, came up to me and said he was going 20 miles over the speed limit on a country road, nobody else out there, and his ticket was $1,126. Excessive fines or bail shall not be required. And all of this is done by people who have sworn an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And I have to ask, what in the world are we doing? Are we part of the problem or are we part of the solution? And I guess the bottom line on my studies came to this, that I was reading the Constitution on the right hand and looking at what government was doing on the left hand, and I saw no similarity whatsoever. And I still don't. And now what we want to do is we want to bring that together like this to where the Constitution controls the other. What did Thomas Jefferson say? Bind them down by the chains of the Constitution. That's what states and counties and cities should be doing. We can, we must, and there is a way to make everything that the United Nations, that our own federal government is trying to shove down our throat, there is a way to make all of that irrelevant. Now, and that way is an answer that the Founding Fathers gave us. And it's the 10th Amendment. Maybe the 9th too, but definitely the 10th. And so if we exercise that here in our states, or maybe those of you who are here today would rather fight 534 corrupt politicians in Washington, D.C., or would you rather deal with maybe 2 or 3 of your county commissioners and your sheriff, where you can really make headway? Yes. I believe most of these people in serving in those positions in your county and in your state are good people. They just need the right information put in front of them. And I believe if we put the right information in front of the right people, we will get our country back. All right? Now, so while I'm studying the Constitution, we got a notice on the briefing board in the police station of an announcement that the state of Utah was sponsoring a training seminar, police training seminar entitled The Constitution for Law Enforcement Officers. Now you're going to know how powerful this was when I tell you the instructor's name was Dr. W. Cleon Skousen.